Hi. As you can see, I'm a little bit frustrated because, well, if you're wondering, why I have a review for Phantasm 2, even though I said when I start doing the Phantasm reviews, I'm gonna do a revisited review on the first one, because I need a fresh review, because the first one I didn't really put much effort into. Well, if you're wondering why there's no revisited review for Phantasm, so am I. See, I recorded it, I uploaded it, I did everything right? I did that, and I did my day one of the Shift by RD. Both of those were told I was corrupt. That was corrupt. I uploaded them, I waited hours, and I deleted the videos on my phone. Apparently, some fucking how, those videos were still processing. Bull fucking shit. Because when I deleted the videos from my phone, it then made those corrupt on YouTube. Bullshit. They were done. Now, I tried the same thing with Phantasm 2. I deleted the video. Apparently, that's perfectly fucking fine. But the other ones weren't done yet. And I'm sure if I made any kind of complaint to YouTube, they'd just blame it on my internet, which is also bullshit. So, here I go again, I guess. A third review on a movie I should have only had to review once. But, my laziness in the opening years of my YouTube career is coming back at me. And now I have to do this for a third time. And as for that Shift Boy RD one, I already have my rating. In the video for day 2, I say day 2. So I can't change that to day 1 and redo over. So what I'm doing is on Sunday, I'm going to do one called Day 1 Redone. So I have the complete set of things. I have an extra can of spaghetti and meat into balls, and that's yeah. It's really frustrating me. So I had to watch Dexter Shadow's review of it to get a fresh refresher on the movie, because I had moved on to do the next one, and now the third one, which I was getting ready to pop in. And there's no sense in complaining about it now, but as you heard, as soon as I start getting ready to record this goddamn video, someone starts mowing the goddamn lawn. Sounds like they're dead now. They're done now. Could be dead. Maybe he fell off and got killed. Probably not. Just, done now. But I wanted to mention that. So, reset mode. Phantasm is a science fiction horror movie that released in 1979 that wasn't called Alien. It was directed by Don Coscarelli and is well regarded as a cult classic. I like it pretty well myself. It's not one of my personal favorites, but I do like it. You see, because I did this, and I did that ranking, which stayed. My ranking stayed, I believe, but the other ones did not. Well, that one came out this morning, so didn't it? I don't know. There's a way to find out. Hold on. Just go into the YouTube app on here, quick. I don't even need that. Just go here. YouTube. I think that stayed. Me. That's me. Go to my library. My videos. There we go. Yep. horror franchise first ranking horror franchise first films. That is up, and my Phantasm 2 review is still up. Yet that one not so much. So okay. Said again. 1979, not Coscarelli, Phantasm. And it tells of the tall man, which has become its own, sort of an underrated horror villain. People will say, oh, he should be up there with the others. And Angus Scrimm played the tall man, sadly passed away in 2015 or 2016. Around the time I started getting into horror YouTube, so, which is how I found these movies. Cody Leach helped me find them. Not personally, but he was talking about them with Dum Dums at the time. They were okay with each other. I'm not going to go into that. So I was a fan of both of them. So I started, and I found the DVD set at Walmart, which I no longer have because I gave it to my friend Brandon, and I have the Blu-ray set, and I still have the Steelbook, which I didn't put in either video, but, yeah. So, Phantasm tells the story of two brothers in a small town where the tall man has shown up and is taking bodies of the dead people from the graves for his sinister means. And we start with sex. The booba. Yes, we get the sex. We see this guy, Tommy, who's having very uncomfortable sex. Very impossible sex, because when they show the legs, they show both of their legs laying on top of each other, right? The woman's laying on him, their legs are like that, flat, like that. But then when they cut to them doing it, she's sitting on top of him, which that doesn't. But it'd be one thing if they just changed positions, but then they cut back to the legs again in the same position. So that's unless she's laying flat in seal formation, I don't think that's how that works. But in the middle of this, she stabs him and turns into the tall man. We don't know what that is yet. And then we cut. And when I say cut, I mean cut, because this film's original runtime was 3 hours, and Coscarelli cut down to an hour and a half. And I think it shows. People say it doesn't, but I think it does. I see a lot of cuts in this, and the story. It feels like some of the story is incomplete, which we get more of that in the fourth one when we get to it. But like this, for instance, we go from this sex scene and the tall man killing him to cut to Jody and Reggie at the funeral. We have not been introduced to either of these two, and they're just talking nonchalantly to each other and about Mike, who we also haven't been introduced to yet. We don't know anything about this. Any of these characters. We never been introduced to them. This feels like there was a scene or two cut that would have introduced us to these characters. I know there's a lot of films that when they come out, I mentioned before, like, this feels like there should have been another film in front of this. Well, this is not exactly that. I feel like that one or two scenes are missing here, because we just cut to these two standing outside the mausoleum, and it's like, okay, who are these people? They're two of our main characters. Okay, now Reggie will go on to be the Ash of this series, or the Burt Gummer of this series, taking over. Much like Burt doesn't do much in this one, although Burt does more in Tremors than Reggie does in this. He doesn't do boomfuck anything in this movie, but lo and behold, Mike is also there on a very loud motorbike that no one else seems to hear at all, except for maybe the tall man at one point. But other than that, he's running around on his bike and motorbike. We have the funeral, and then Mike sees the tall man pick up Tommy's casket by himself and shove it in the hearse. Something's going on. So he runs to the psychic person, this lady and her grandmother who is psychic, and instead of directly talking about what he just saw, he asks if Jodie's going to leave, which we get. I'm thinking this was supposed to be a scene from earlier, but they put it in here for some reason. I don't know. He's like, well, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna have Mike stay with her aunt. And I'm just like, okay. But then she's like, grandmother says when he leaves, he'll take you with him. That is not what we just saw. At all. But, and then he talks about the weird thing at the mausoleum. And basically it seems like the grandma doesn't believe him because she does this thing like, oh, it's only in your head. It's just the fear that's that. But then the granddaughter goes to check out the mausoleum and she gets snatched and we never see her again. The grandmother's not brought up again. When I first watched this before, I thought that this and the girl at the end of the movie were the same girl, but it's not. And again, those two people where they're like, oh, take Mike to this person and that person. Who? We never met these people before. And again, some scenes are cut. We know. But, yeah. And even some of the editing. Just, because like, Mike goes back and is this where he sneaks into the thing? He sneaks into the mausoleum. I think this is where he does it. He sneaks into the... No, because then she does that. Did we get the scene in the daylight yet where he sees the tall man in the ice cream when it's cold? And then they use this scene as a reference to retcon stuff later because it's cold. But this scene doesn't at all indicate that. He seems more like he's enjoying it than he is anything else, but look at that. So, okay, but just cut to this. Mike goes into the mausoleum. He breaks a window and sneaks in where he finds the caretaker who chases him around. But the caretaker finds the silver ball that drills into his skull. We get the blood spurt. It's pretty fucking cool. And then the tall man arrives. And this is also it's not an edit, but it's an awkward scene where Mike walks up to him. He's about 2 or 3 feet away and goes, oh, and then runs the other direction with the tall man giving chase, which we know that he could teleport, but he gives chase. And he's able to lock himself in the room where he came in, but the tall man's hand is shut in the door, which it's like this in the door, which is not how it works because your hand would be squished, so you wouldn't be able to do that in the door. Here, I demonstrate. Okay? I'm not going to actually slam it in the door, but here is what it is. His hand, this one. Right? Look at how it shuts. There's no way. There's no way for it to shut on his hand. See? That's resistance from the bones in my hand are stopping it from shutting like that. There's no way that it would be able to shut on his hand without swooshing his hand. So, that is impossible to do that. But yet, then Mike cuts off his fingers. One of them, they're still moving, and he takes one, bring it to Jodie. By this point, he's told Jodie about it. Oh, I forgot the scene where Jodie and Reggie, they sing a song. Well, my girl just left me lonely. Yes, she did. My baby just left me blue. Yeah. They sing a song. It comes out of nowhere. And again, it feels like that Coscarelli wanted to keep this scene in, but there's no context to it. It comes out of nowhere. It felt like there was other stuff connected to this. He just threw it in and right there. So that was before this. Because I think it goes, the girl goes in, and then we cut to, maybe he's going to, I don't know. But, so, Mike goes back, he tells Jodie what's going on. Of course he doesn't believe him at first, but he shows him the finger. And he's like, okay, I believe you. Just right away. I believe you. What do we do? And so they're going to go to the police with the evidence. So your plan is to go to the police. Oh, I remember a scene I'm missing. I'm missing a scene in which Reggie, or not Reggie, there's another scene. There it is. I'm missing another scene. Because I have to redo this thing. So Jody goes to the bar where Tommy was. Apparently he was there the night before. He picks up the same girl, the girl in lavender. And they go to the cemetery again to start to do it or whatever. When Michael, of course, follows him. And this is also a very awkward scene because Jody drives up, right? And then, or is it he drives away? Maybe that's later. But there's a scene where Jody, he drives away from the, or he drives up and goes in, and Mike comes walking up is what it is. And that's here, I think. And it's awkward because Jody would have seen Mike walking down the road if that was the case. So he would know I don't know. But Mike is spying on him and follows him there when he sees the Jawa for the first time. So this is before he breaks in and goes running. Then Jody sees that his brother is there and goes running with the woman's panties in his mouth. And they have a little talk, and that's where he starts, I don't believe you. No. You're making stuff up, whatever. So now he believes him because he saw the finger. So their plan is to take the finger to the police and say, hey, this belongs to the mortuary guy. Right? But that's not going to work. Because when they go to the mortuary with the cops, if they were to do that, right? The tall man would just have grown his hands back, which he does. His fingers back, excuse me. And so, yeah, that wouldn't have worked at all. That's their plan. It says, go get your evidence. And now it's turned into this giant bug thing that crawls on his head, which I don't want to think about. And they fight with that and put it in a garbage disposal. And when they think they're done, Reggie just knocks on the door. Comes in, oh, hey, you want to go over... you want to go on my patrol with me? Using an ice cream man. You good with crowd control? I don't know if that's an edit or if it just shot that way. I know this was low budget, but what kind of... It goes from them fighting this thing to Reggie just knocking on the door and casually walking in. Hey, you want to go on to crowd control for me? And then the bug comes back up, attacks Reggie. So now he's in on it. Except he's not, because Reggie fucking disappears from the movie for some reason, because they're like, no, these two are going to go off. So Jody says, you stay here. I think he actually locks him in there and says, I'm going to go to the place. But then Mike has a shotgun shell and somehow is able to rig it to blow a hole in the door so he can reach through. And just perfectly sized for his hand, too. Reach through and take the screwdriver out so because he put the screwdriver in to stop him opening the door. I don't know how well that actually works, but movies, whatever. Thing is, Jody's barely out the door when he causes the explosion, so he should have heard him, but he doesn't. And that's another thing, like the whole he drives up and then Mike comes walking up. It just doesn't work. You need that space, the time between these shots, because it doesn't make sense that Jody wouldn't know that Mike was there because he would have passed him on the road. And then Jody would have heard the explosion go off because he barely left the front door before it went off. But nonetheless, Jody goes to the place, the mausoleum, through the same hole, and encounters a Jawa where he shoots him a few times. One shot is like fucking this. Somehow he doesn't shoot himself in the face. He's able to get the Jawa. And then he leaves, only to be chased by a hearse. And then come in contact with his own car, which I mentioned in my second review for the second one, that in this film, the Hemakuta is his. For the rest of the franchise, it's Reggie's. It's the same car. Whatever. So, it turns out Mike is driving the Hemikuta, and so he gets in there, and they're chased by there's no one driving that mother. And it turns out there's a Jawa in there, and they shoot the Jawa, or they shoot the engine and cause him to crash into a tree. And the Jawa is revealed to be Tommy from the beginning of the movie. So they are crushing these little people down, we find out later. These people down into little people to live on it, we'll find out later. So they call Reggie. Somehow, how do they call Reggie? Because it's 1979, they got no cell phones. Somehow they're able to get a hold of Reggie and have him come down with his ice cream truck. Maybe they got a car phone. I don't know. I don't remember how they did it. They don't leave the scene unless unless Jody walks to the nearest place with a phone and uses a payphone. I guess. I don't remember. He tells Reggie to show up with his ice cream truck. They put the little guy in the ice cream truck, and they tell Reggie to meet him at the police station. Again, trying to use this little person, thinking the cops are going to buy any of this shit. But it is not to be, as we hear strange noise in the back of Reggie's car. Meanwhile, Jody is going to take the two random girls I mentioned before that were probably other footage was cut from the movie at the antique store. While there, Mike notices a picture of the tall man. How ironic. An old-timey picture. We'll learn more about that later. And freaks out and goes after Reggie. While Reggie has a weird fantasy nightmare dream thing. But he goes back to deal with the tall man. While they're driving, they find that Reggie is dead, supposedly. And Mike goes, the other two are attacked by Jawas and killed. So Mike runs back to the mausoleum. And again, it's a weird edit where he's there and he's stared down by the silver ball. Jody just comes up from behind him and shoots the ball. How did he know he was there? Where did he come from? What? You have to establish where characters are and not just have them show up. Again, this could be the cause of cutting so much of the film out. Maybe you should have made this a 2-hour length and have just an extra half hour of footage that could have helped out a little bit, you know? Just saying. So, I'm trying to remember and not confuse it with the second one. What are they trying to do now? Trying to take down the tall man, I guess. Well, it turns out Reggie's still alive. He's there, I guess. And then they find this room with all these shrunken people in it, in little barrels. And the two things. And Mike goes through and sees this red planet, which everyone assumes to be Mars. And the Jawas. Apparently there is a high force of gravity on the planet that prevents the Jawas can walk on it and normal people can't. But Mike is brought back through, and then the lights go out and everyone is separated. Jody's back outside. Mike is somewhere, and Reggie is left in the room with the barrels, where he finds that the two prongs of the portal vibrate like in the frequency like his tuning fork from earlier. So he touches it, and just as it appears that Jody is going to be killed by the woman in lavender, she steps out, and Reggie comes out and finds her. After the vacuum thing sucks everything, he's able to get out, finds her, he gets stabbed, so he's dead again. And Jody and Mike are able to escape, I guess. They come up with the idea. So they go back to the house to mount an escape, but the tall man arrives. They come up with the idea to lure the tall man to this mine shaft that's like thousands of feet deep. or 8,000 feet deep, who knows. And they're going to drop him in there and then bury him with rocks. But he needs to get rid of the warning sign so the tall man can't see it. So Jody goes to do that, where he leaves his brother alone in the house to gather supplies. Of course, the tall man shows up, and Mike is forced to make haste and run towards the shaft, where the tall man does fall in. Jody buries him in giant rocks. And you think that's it? No, it cuts to Mike's in bed. It was all a dream. The whole thing. It was all a dream. Jody died in a car wreck. And Reggie's fine. He's alive. And they're in Reggie's house. And everything is just fine now. Everything's fine now. Yeah. How are you? Lousy conversation anyway. Hey, we're going to have company. No. Yeah. And it doesn't get less confusing in the rest of the movies. Maybe not the second one, because they wouldn't let him be ambiguous. But the rest of the movies afterwards, they just pile on the ambiguity, especially the fifth one. So, apparently this was all a dream. Jody died in a car wreck. They even show his headstone, grave. But like I said before, I said it in the second one, I said it in the original review, the Revisited review I did this. It makes no sense, because we find out that that's not exactly how it works. Because, like, we find out that that the tall man is real, but Jody remains dead. Practically for the remainder of these movies, Jody remains dead. Even though everything with the tall man technically did happen. I know they try to explain it in the fifth one with alternate realities, but that's just a cop-out. And it makes my head hurt even more. But so, Mike goes up to get some stuff. We're going to go on a road trip. Mike goes up to get some stuff ready. By the way, it's nighttime, and they're just going to go now. But the tall man breaks through the mirror. Boy! And grabs him through. And that's the end of the movie. Cue the music. Excellent score, by the way. I can't repeat it. But yeah, that's how the movie ends. I don't remember what score I gave it, but I'll give it a very high middle of the road. I've never been a huge fan of this movie. I think it's fine. I prefer the second one, as you'll find out when you watch my review. Which, it's already up because, stuff. But yeah, there it is. So what are your thoughts on Phantasm? Leave me a comment below, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Sky, and I'll see you in the next one.